Have you ever stopped to think why the happiness often seems like a prize reserved for a select few? What if I told you that the real happiness is not in the fleeting things that the world offers, but in something much deeper and more transformative? Maybe you have already looked in many places, tried to fill this void with achievements, material goods, or even forced smiles. But today, I want to tell you a powerful secret. The happiness you so desire begins when you decide to open your heart to Jesus and allow Him to transform every corner of your life. I know it may seem cliché or even far from your reality. After all, who has never asked themselves, why does my happiness depend on something I can't see? But believe me, Jesus knows every detail of your struggles and pains, and He has a custom message for you, something that goes far beyond what the world can offer. In this video, you will discover how faith, even if it is as small as a mustard seed, can lead you to a transformation deep, bringing a trust unshakable promises that are fulfilled and a happiness that does not depend on external circumstances. You don't need to have giant faith. A simple step of trust may already be enough for Jesus. Start taking action in your life. But be careful. There are barriers that can prevent you from experiencing this complete happiness: fear, guilt, discouragement, and doubt. But don't worry, in this video, we'll show you how to break these chains and open the doors to solid, eternal, and deeply true happiness. I invite you to walk with me on this journey of discovery. In the end, you will realize that you are not alone and that there is a promise waiting to be lived. It's not theory, it's real life. Testimonies of transformed people will inspire you to take the first step towards true happiness. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share this video with those who need to. Hear this message? With each new reflection, you will get even closer to the happiness that God has prepared for you. Challenge. I choose to open my heart to Jesus and trust Him to live in complete happiness. Write this phrase in the comments right now and declare your commitment to the transformation He has for your life. You know that moment when you think that everything around you needs to be perfect in order to finally experience the happiness you dream of. Well, this is a trap that many people fall into. We live in a society that insists on convincing us that happiness, it depends on your dream job, your ideal relationship, or that financial status that makes your eyes shine. But the truth is that this happiness is fragile, like a sand castle. It only takes a wind to collapse. What really makes a difference is when you decide to open your heart to Jesus, regardless of what is happening outside. It's easy to put happiness in the hands of circumstances. After all, it seems logical. When I have that car, then I'll be happy. Or when I get that promotion, everything will improve. But real life shows us that this is not always enough. How many successful people, with everything the world has to offer, still feel an emptiness that nothing can fill? It's because the real happiness is not shaped by circumstances, but by the presence of Jesus in the heart. He is the source of a happiness that is not shaken by the storms of life, a happiness that resists any crisis. Think about it. How many times have you been in a beautiful place, surrounded by smiling people, but inside you felt alone, incomplete? This happens because the true happiness is a state of mind that comes from the inside out, not the other way around. That's why Jesus insists so much that we open our hearts to Him. He knows that the world out there will offer you empty promises that sooner or later will let you down. But when the faith finds a home in the heart, something extraordinary happens. The world may even collapse, but you remain firm, confident, because happiness of Jesus, it's like an anchor in the storm. Want to take the first step? Set aside some time in your day for a moment of silence and sincere prayer. Open your heart and say, Jesus, I want to find true happiness in you. It doesn't have to be a beautiful prayer, full of fancy words. The important thing is that it's true. That's delivery, it is trust, it is the beginning of a transformation that will impact every area of your life. You will realize that the happiness that comes from Jesus, it is not a prize you win when everything goes right, but a gift you receive every day, even when things don't go as planned. And you know what's best. This decision doesn't depend on anyone, but you. It's the key that opens the door to a fuller, lighter, and above all, happier life. Now tell me, are you willing to open your heart to this happiness that doesn't depend on circumstances? Stay with me, because in the next topic we'll talk about how Jesus knows your struggles and pains and has a powerful and personalized message for you. Don't leave. You know that secret that no one else knows, those tears shed in silence, the moments when you question even your own strength. Well, Jesus, he knows every detail of your struggles and pains, even the ones you don't have the courage to tell anyone. And do you know what's most incredible? He not only knows, but he cares. It's as if he were right next to you saying, I know what you're going through, son, and I have something special to tell you. It's not a generic message, one that works for everyone. It's something designed just for you, because happiness, what he wants to give you, is unique, tailor-made for your heart. It may seem a bit unrealistic to imagine that the creator of the universe cares about every detail of your life, right? But that's exactly how it is. He knows you by name. He knows your deepest pains, the ones you try to hide even from yourself. He understands your fears, your insecurities, your defeats, and even your victories that no one celebrated. And the most beautiful thing of all is that he wants to use all of this to help you live your true life, happiness. It doesn't matter what the world has told you so far. What matters is what Jesus has to say about you. It's normal to doubt this sometimes, especially when everything seems to be going wrong. But the truth is that even in your worst moments, he was there, accompanying you, crying with you, holding your hand, even when you didn't realize it. He's not the one who only shows up at good times. He's the friend who doesn't abandon you, even on the darkest days. Want a practical example? Think about those nights when you thought you couldn't take it anymore, but something deep down gave you the strength to keep going. That wasn't luck or coincidence. It was Jesus sustaining you, renewing your faith, and preparing you for the transformation that is on the way. When you understand that he has a personalized message for you, everything changes. It's not about what you deserve or not. It's about the unconditional love he has for you. He wants to tell you that you are worthy, that there is a promise waiting for you, a promise of happiness that is not shaken by the storms of life. But for that, you need to be willing to listen. Do you know that moment of silence that you can take to reflect? Try saying a simple prayer. Jesus, talk to me. Show me what I need to hear today. You will be surprised by the trust that springs from your heart when you understand that he not only listens to you, but also answers you. Stay with me, because in the next topic, we will find out how faith, even small, has the power to move mountains. And you will realize that it is not the size of your faith what matters, but the decision to trust Jesus for real. Are you ready for this journey? Then let's go together. Oh, our faith, this topic that so many people find complicated and at the same time so necessary. But let me tell you something. You don't need to have faith the size of a skyscraper to experience true happiness in Jesus. In fact, he himself said that faith can be the size of a mustard seed, small, almost invisible, but powerful enough to move mountains. Yes, those mountains that we think will never get out of the way. I know it may seem hard to believe that something so small can make such a difference. But to Jesus, what counts is not the size of your faith, but your trust in him. He wants to teach you that when you choose to trust, even when you are afraid, that is when things start to happen. It is in this moment of courage, amidst uncertainty, that He shows how capable He is of transforming your life, and you don't have to wait until everything is resolved to take this step. The transformation begins when you, with an open heart, say, "I trust in you, Lord, even though I don't." See a way out. Have you ever noticed how easy it is for us to feel small when faced with difficulties? It's as if life throws a bucket of cold water on our hopes, and we become increasingly disillusioned. But that's precisely where faith shines. It's not the absence of problems that makes the difference, but the presence of faith that sustains you. And you know what the best part is? You don't have to do it alone. When you put your worries in the hands of Jesus, He takes control and gives you the trust that everything will fall into place in due time. Want to see this in practice? Imagine that you are facing a difficult situation, be it a financial crisis, a family problem, or even an emotional issue that seems to have no solution. Instead of letting fear take over you, say a simple prayer as if you were talking to a friend. "Jesus, I know my faith is small, but I place this situation in your hands." This gesture of delivery, even if it seems fragile, it is a powerful step towards transformation that He has for you. And you know what's most beautiful? This faith, even small, makes the happiness that you seek so much. It is not that fleeting joy which depends on circumstances, but a solid joy, which is born from the certainty that Jesus is by your side, taking care of every detail. That is why He said that faith is like a seed, small at first, but capable of growing and transforming everything around it. In the next topic, we will talk about the inner transformation, that profound change that happens when you allow Jesus enter your heart and touch all areas of your life. Hold on tight, because what's coming is strong. Have you ever stopped to think that many times we expect change to happen from the outside in? Like, if I earn more money, then everything will get better. Or, when that person changes, my life will get easier. But let me tell you something. The real transformation, the one that changes everything, starts inside us, right there in our hearts. It's as if our interior were a house that needs to be cleaned, reorganized, and above all, open to welcome the one who can really change everything. Jesus. I know that opening your heart is not an easy task. After all, we keep so much inside. Fears, hurts, insecurities, guilt, discouragement. But it is exactly in these areas that Jesus wants to act. He doesn't come knocking at the door like an intruder. No, He waits for you to say, "Come in, Lord, and change what needs to be changed." And that's where the magic begins. When you do this delivery, He comes in with love, patience, and care, getting into the little corners that you thought no one could ever reach. Want a practical example? Think about the area of your life that you have the most difficulty letting go of. It could be a troubled relationship, a professional frustration, or even an emotional addiction that holds you back. When you call Jesus into this situation, you realize that He does not condemn you, does not judge you, but helps you see things in a different way. It is as if the mess that used to make you desperate begins to organize itself, and happiness, knowing that you are not alone, takes over your heart. And you know what's most amazing? This transformation, it is not restricted to one area of your life. It spreads like wildfire. It goes from your heart to your mind, from your emotions to your actions, from your words to your decisions. You start to see everything with different eyes. Even difficulties take on a new meaning, because now you are certain that Jesus is in control, and the happiness, what He offers you, no longer depends on external circumstances, but on His presence within you. That's what He wants to do with you today. It doesn't matter how long you've spent waiting for a change to come from outside. Today, Jesus invites you to a transformation from the inside out, a revolution in the heart that will give you a trust that the world cannot shake. But stay with me, Because in the next topic, we will talk about the barriers that often prevent us from experiencing this transformation: fear, guilt, discouragement, and doubt. Let's break these chains together. Come with me. You know those invisible barriers that we don't always notice, but that are there, like a wall between us and the world. Happiness that we so desire, well, they have names: fear, guilt, discouragement, and doubt. Each of these barriers has the power to paralyze us, to make us doubt even the most beautiful promises. But what many people forget is that Jesus wants and can break down these barriers, tear down these walls, and pave the way for the transformation you deserve to experience. Let's start with fear. It's like a shadow that follows us and makes us believe that we are too small, too weak, or too unworthy to live the fullness that God has prepared for us. How many times have you caught yourself saying, "What if it doesn't work out? What if I fail again?" This fear paralyzes you, preventing you from taking steps forward faith, and steals your trust in Jesus. But do you know what he says to you today? Fear not, for I am with you. That's his promise. He walks beside you even in your darkest days. Now let's talk about blame. Oh, how heavy it is. It's like a backpack full of stones that we carry day after day, remembering the mistakes of the past, the failures that we would rather forget. But Jesus wants you to know that the guilt does not come from him. He has already forgiven you. When you understand this, you feel the lightness that true forgiveness brings. Happiness, bring it, because nothing stops you from living the present to the fullest. Have you ever stopped to think about the relief it is to leave that backpack on the altar and walk truly free? The discouragemental so has its role. It is sneaky, it slowly infiltrates, and when you realize it, you are already saying, it is not worth trying anymore. Nothing will change. This is when you need to remember the promises of Jesus. Come to me, all you who are weary, and I will give you rest. He does not promise a life without challenges, but he does guarantee renewed strength for each battle. When you let him act, discouragement loses its strength, and happiness blooms again in your heart. Let's talk about it. Doubt. This is treacherous. It makes you question everything. Is this real? Do I deserve this transformation? But doubt does not come from God. He invites you to trust him with your eyes closed, like a child who jumps into his father's arms. Without fear of falling, faith is the antidote to doubt, and it is precisely this faith, even if small, that connects you to the promises of Jesus. Ultimately, these barriers only have the power you give them. When you choose to let go, Jesus enter. He begins to knock them down one by one until everything that was preventing you from being happy falls to the ground. This is how true transformation happens. He takes what was holding you back and transforms it into a testimony of victory. But hold on, because in the next topic we will talk about the solid and eternal happiness that Jesus offers and that the world cannot give. Ready to discover this joy that never ends? Hold on tight. You know that feeling of chasing happiness like you're chasing butterflies? You think you've caught it, but suddenly it slips away again. That's how the world usually sells us happiness. Happiness as something that depends on achievements, money, success, or the approval of others. But the reality is that this happiness is as fragile as a house of cards. Any wind of trouble brings it all down. Now, let me tell you a secret that can change the way you live. The happiness that Jesus offers is different. It is solid, eternal, and is not shaken by the storms of life. When we understand this, everything changes. You know that smile you force just to look good, while inside everything is falling apart. Jesus wants to give you a smile happiness that does not depend on circumstances, that does not disappear when things get tough. It is as if he were saying, "Son, I am the solid rock on which you can build your life." This is more than poetry. It is a promise real. He guarantees that even on the most difficult days, His presence will be the foundation that supports everything. Let's be honest. Who has never placed happiness in the hands of fleeting things? When I have this job, I'll be happy. When I meet the right person, then my life will change. And when that happens, we even feel a twinge of joy, but soon realize that something is missing. It's because true happiness is something that is not real. Happiness does not come from the outside in, but from the inside out, and only Jesus has the power to put that eternal joy inside of you. That's why He said, "I have come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly." It's not about having everything perfect, but about having your heart fixed on Him, want to see this working. Imagine that you are going through a difficult time, unemployment, health problems, family crises. The world will tell you that happiness is for later, that you need to wait for everything to get better. But Jesus invites you to live the trust that defies logic. He wants you to be happy now, even in the midst of the storm, because the happiness He gives is not based on what you have, but on who He is. And He is love, peace, strength, and faithfulness, every day, in every situation. That's liberating, isn't it? Knowing that no matter what happens, your happiness does not depend on the circumstances, but on the relationship with Jesus. This gives you wings to live lightly, without fear of tomorrow. But wait, there's more. In the next topic, we'll talk about how the word of Jesus is alive and transforming, and how each word of His is like a seed that blossoms into blessings in your life. Come with me. Have you ever imagined that every word that Jesus speaks is like a powerful seed full of life, ready to blossom inside your heart? Well, that's exactly how it is. Word of Jesus, it is not a set of pretty phrases to put on a board in the living room. It is alive, pulsating, capable of transforming your story in ways you can't even imagine. When you open your heart to these words, something extraordinary begins to happen. Sadness turns into hope, fear gives way to trust, and the pain finds solace. It's as if each sentence were a key, opening doors to a new reality. You know that moment when you feel lost, without direction. That's exactly when word of Jesus makes all the difference. It reminds you of promises that He made. I will be with you always. Nothing will be able to separate you from my love. In me you have life, and life in abundance. Each of these words is like a hug that welcomes you, lifts you up, and gives you strength to carry on. It is a way of saying, I see. You, son, and I have a purpose for your life. This is more than poetry. It is practical life. You might be thinking, but how do I put this into practice in my daily life? It's simpler than it seems. How about starting by reading a verse a day, letting each word sink in? Jesus fall like a drop of light into your heart. Choose a notebook to write down what you feel, what you learn, what touches your heart most strongly. It's like watering the seed every day, allowing it to take root and grow. And you don't need to be a theologian or have answers for everything. The important thing is to open your heart and let the transformation start from within. And there's more. Word of Jesus. It's not just to comfort you in difficult times. No. It also pushes you to grow, to leave your comfort zone, to forgive those who hurt you, to take steps forward, faith that once seemed impossible. Every time you choose to live by these words, you are taking a step towards happiness full. Because the joy He offers is not superficial. It is deep, it is firm, it is eternal. You know that beautiful garden that you always wanted to have in your soul? Well, every word of Jesus, it is a seed that makes this garden bloom. And the more you water it, the more beautiful it becomes. But hold on tight, because in the next topic we will talk about testimonies of transformed lives, real stories of people who have experienced this transformation. And who knows, the next story of victory could be yours. Shall we find out together? You noticed how we are inspired by the stories of those who overcame challenges, overcame pain, and achieved their dream? Happiness. Well, testimonies have this power. They show us that it is possible, that we are not alone, that there is a way. And when we talk about the transformations that Jesus does in people's lives, that's when hope truly takes flight. It has the power to transform any story. And the next one could be yours. Think about how many people came to him broken, wounded, full of doubts and pain. People who had already lost their trust. People who thought happiness was something that only happened in movies. But then, suddenly, everything changed. Not because life became easy or perfect, but because Jesus entered history and made all things new. It's as if he took that torn, scarred painting and painted a new work of art, full of color, life, and purpose. I'll tell you a quick story I once heard. A man was overcome by fear and guilt over his bad choices. He had tried everything to find peace, but he always came back to the same place, emptiness. Until one day he decided to open his heart to God's message, Jesus. A transformation. It didn't come in a snap of a finger, but it started with small steps of faith. Every word of Jesus, what he heard, was like a seed, germinating slowly but surely. Today, he tells everyone how this choice changed his life, not only on the outside, but mainly on the inside. And I ask you, why couldn't this happen to you too? Maybe you think that your story is too difficult, that your pain is too great, that there is no way out. But Jesus, he is an expert in transforming complicated stories into testimonies of victory. It doesn't matter how big the problem is, he is bigger. It doesn't matter how much you've made mistakes, he is an expert in starting over. Promise, it's for everyone, without exception. Just imagine yourself in some time telling other people how Jesus transformed your life, how he gave you a happiness that the world could not erase, how he broke down those barriers of fear, guilt, and discouragement that seemed insurmountable. This is not just for those who are in the Bible, no. This is for you, today, now. Your story is still being written, and Jesus wants to help you write the most beautiful chapters. So, my friend, open your heart. Let this transformation begin today. It doesn't matter how you got here. The important thing is that you decided to give this change a chance. And you know what? I believe that the next story of victory that will inspire others could be yours. At the end of the day, it all starts with a simple decision to trust. Are you ready to take this step? We have reached the end of this journey. But the real beginning is just beginning within you. Now that you have discovered how happiness true is born when you decide to open your heart to Jesus, the question remains, what now? Are you ready to take the next step? Remember, it's not about being perfect or having a faith giant. It's about having the courage to trust him, to allow him to transformation start from the inside out. Think about the areas of your life where you feel the most fear, guilt, discouragement, or doubt. What is stopping you from living all that you want? Jesus promised. Identifying these barriers is the first step to breaking them down. Make this a daily exercise. Ask yourself what you can give today for him to transform. This is what opens the doors to true happiness, the one the world cannot steal. Now it's up to you. Are you ready to open your heart? Are you willing to let God's words shine through? Jesus, germinate in your heart as seeds of life. How about writing in the comments? I choose to open my heart to Jesus every day, as a public commitment, and most importantly, as a declaration of transformation. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone you know who needs this message. This way, you help other people experience the same transformation that you are starting to experience. So tell me, what's stopping you from taking this step today? Let's walk together on this journey towards happiness, solid and eternal, that Jesus has for you.